everybody. Well, good afternoon, depending on where you're at. I'm Chrissy, your host. We are in day 2 of the BWP Summit. I'm so happy to be here with y'all. Right, we got you.
How are you? Thank you guys for having us.
Good. Before we jump into the conversation with Kahran and Reg of CreativeSoul Photography, I just want to shout out our sponsors, Adobe, for sponsoring today's event and our keynote speakers here. The beautiful thing about Adobe, besides like the multitude of things, right, like, especially as photographers and designers, they are giving away free giveaways of the Adobe Creative Cloud Suite. That's all of the apps, literally all of them, anything you could ever need, for free. All you have to do is use the hashtag BWP Summit and tag Black women photographers on either Twitter or your IG stories to be entered into the giveaway. Or you could also win the Adobe photography plan. Like, that's Lightroom and Photoshop, the things every photographer needs. And like I said, all you got to do is use that hashtag on Twitter or IG stories. So thank you again, Adobe, and let's jump right in. Let's get into it. Hello, good morning.
Hi, how are you?
Yes, Kahran, I'm so happy to be talking to you.
Yes, we are excited to be here as well.
Y'all look amazing. I love the hair, the earrings, the red. I was like, the chat is already lighting up for you. That makes me so happy.
Oh, thank you.
So I want to jump right in. I'm so happy y'all are our keynote speakers. And today, y'all need to really like get into the CreativeSoul brand, because there's some beautiful image I'm about to pull up for y'all. It's like literally so gorgeous. Y'all are a powerhouse and an excellent team, and it's so clear. It comes up in your work. So I want to get into like how y'all started, like how y'all became CreativeSoul today.
Oh my goodness.
It's a lot to fit in a couple minutes, but you know.
Yes, we'll give you the condensed version. Yeah, so I told people we actually started off as graphic designers. We met really nerdy way. Listen, don't judge us. This is before social media, anything like that. We've actually met in an online graphic designer forum. So we were graphic designers before, or I was kind of moonlighting as a graphic designer, I should say, and Reg was as well. And so we met in an online graphic designer forum. And eventually we both moved to Atlanta together around 2006. And that's when Reg decided to go to school for photography. And so I was still working in corporate America. I was actually more in marketing at the time, but I was in corporate America, and Reg was going to school for photography, and I decided to learn along with him. And I was like, you're not going to learn this without me. Okay. Now. So, but I'm more of like I can learn through, YouTube or tutorials or whatever. So, I kind of
needless to say, she became like a Jedi Knight overnight. I need a break from it.
He says
at night she's on YouTube, and it's like learning never stops with her.
He says I'm an overachiever. Okay, so
that's a good thing, though.
So yeah, we definitely balance each other out. But yeah, so we started out and we were doing a little bit of everything. So we technically, literally, I was going back through some of my really, really, really old archives, and I was like, man, we literally shot, I think, almost all of my coworkers at the time. So whether it was their wedding or families or, kids, you name it, we were doing everything. And that's really how we started to, kind of get into photography and build our portfolio and our clientele. I just, it kind of came to a point in time after a few years where we would photograph a wedding and we would hate it, right? Or we would, as much as cute as the babies were, we would do a newborn session. Reg is like, man, doesn't it have to be so hot in here, right? So,
I was already a big boy. I brought my own heat. I ain't need no extra heaters set up around me.
Right. So
I would literally almost pass out during these sessions.
Yeah. So we were like, why are we going to build a business that we hate, right? If we're building this to be like our own thing, it should be something that we actually love. And we knew we had a love for photographing kids. Like, to be honest, we would do a wedding and we would be over there with the flower girls and the ring bearers,
like an hour hour or two doing the Flower Girls.
Right.
Even when we do family sessions,
yeah,
we do the break off part where we do the kids are separate.
Yeah, it was like separate. Really the parents were just the chaperones, you know.
Right.
So.
We would photograph the kids for like a long time. Right. Then I look back like, oh,
yeah, right.
I forgot the parents.
So, right. We just didn't know at the time that we could actually make a living from photographing kids, because really at the time, like, I didn't know of anyone that was was just solely focused on children. And so, I honestly was a little bit nervous because I was like, yeah, we'd like to do it, but I don't know if we're going to be able to make a living from doing it. And so I kind of we continued doing some of our other things on the side while we started to build, our child portfolio. And then, fast forward to us actually getting into, the kid space, we were just kind of doing personal projects for ourselves. And so we decided to get into the kids fashion industry because we thought we could be maybe a little bit more creative there. So for those that are not familiar, it's more like photographing child actor headshots and models and, kids fashion brands, kid editorial magazines, stuff like that. And when we got there, we realized at the time it wasn't very diverse. And two, a lot of the kids that had natural Afro hair, the parents would come in to get their headshots and they would straighten the kids' hair before they came in because they thought that's what they needed to do to get their baby on Gap or Old Navy or whatever, And I was like, oh my gosh, like we're teaching these kids at an early age that their look is not acceptable, their hair is not acceptable, right? And so we really just kind of took it upon ourselves. We did a personal project just showcasing 3 little girls with natural hair looking fashionable. And I think it was in Times Square, right? And, that, started to take off a little bit. And we ended up doing another shoot in Austin, Texas, a roller skate girl shoot. And that really kind of transformed our business. Like we went from about 2,000 followers to about 20,000 in about a span of a month, right? Just from that one personal shoot. And we had no team, no hairstylist, no makeup artist, no wardrobe. It was literally us, the kids. I think the kids were our photographer's friends' kids, right? And we, Reg got some old skates off of eBay and spray painted them. And so, to me, that goes to show you that you don't have to have a lot. You don't have to have a big budget. You don't have to have a big team. You really just have to, just get creative with what you have.
Yeah, that's like a testament to the creative power that y'all have too. I mean, especially considering y'all are like geniuses at graphic designing. And I'm gonna just go ahead and get into this portfolio now so y'all can see what and while I do that, I want to know, there was like a turning point for y'all in like 2016, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's actually when I finally left my full-time job. So we actually did photography before I left my full-time job for about 7 years. So I was balancing both for about 7 years. And I say that to say, like, I know a lot of people feel like, I have to, such and such left her job after a year or 2 years, but you really have to do what's best for you, right? I knew that once I left and stepped out, that was going to be, we had to, make this photography salary work for two of us, not just one. Right. And I knew a lot of other folks might have had a spouse that was doing something different, right? That, could balance in case things went wrong. But I knew that, once we lost that other, salary, that it was going to be, we got to support this, on our own. So
yeah, in a really real way. And I'm glad you really said that, because I feel like folks tend to romanticize that part where it's like,
had a bun and it's not easy, right? Yeah.
Ramen noodles, boy.
Yeah. It's not easy. You got to figure out what works best for you and your current situation. And I knew that, we were already kind of established. And so I wasn't trying to go backwards. You know what I mean? You kind of got used to living a certain way, or not, doing living a certain lifestyle and doing things a certain way. And I knew that, we needed X amount, or, we needed, this amount to be able to continue.
So we did
what we were doing.
Before, she made that jump.
Yeah. So that was one of the big things, is that we tried to save, at least 3 to 6 months worth of salary, just in case, we needed that backup. And to be honest, that's probably the best habit that we've kind of taken away from this, just as freelancers in general. You know how it is when you're there may be months when, man, you're killing it, right? And then there are months when it's like, okay, what's going on? Or even for us now, it's, months like, okay, our book is coming out next week. We are back-to-back traveling, for the book tour. But when we're doing that, we're not able to bring in money from our regular clients, right? So we have to kind of constantly have that backup, and that amount saved so that we're not scrambling every month to try to figure out, all right, I got to get some clients. And then I feel like when you do that, that's when you start, okay, well, if they just give me 200, I'll take it because I need to put food on the table. You know what I mean? But if you have that, saved, then you're able to, better kind of, I guess, adjust when there are bumps in the road.
That's so true. And considering that, like, how long did it take y'all to feel established enough to be like, okay, we're going to take it there?
You mean in order to take the leap?
Yeah, to be full-time creative.
Yeah, it was a while. I mean, yeah, it was a couple of years, right? I mean, because we knew that we wanted to do it, but then, and then even after I think I made the good thing is that I had a really good working relationship with my boss, and he knew what we did, and he was kind of like, look, I know you guys are gonna leave me. Just make sure you give me enough time. I ended up giving him like 6 months, right? Because he was, he was a good friend, and I didn't want to leave him hanging. So I ended up, giving him like a 6 months, notice to be able to find some folks, and it gave me a little bit more time to save. I thought that I was, he wanted me to come and work for him, for his his side gig, and do it from home. And I thought that's what I was going to do. So I was like, oh, I'll leave, and then if I need a little extra money, I'll work, with him part-time from home. And yeah, we kind of left and never looked back, right? Yeah. So the first thing we did, I don't know if you can go back to the homepage.
Okay.
Or it may be in the menu. Let's see. I can't even remember. Featured series and the world tour. So the first thing that we actually did, once I think probably I left my job in September, in October, we did what we called our world tour. So we went and traveled to about 8 different countries and photographed them in about a span of 35 days. So we went all across Europe. We did Ghana, South Africa. We eventually went to Cuba. We had no idea what we were doing. Okay. I just have to say that we had never done shoots outside of the country before. We didn't know anyone. We basically were making connections through social media before. And it was the best training for us. I would say, and we actually, at first I was like, oh, should we try to get somebody to sponsor it or whatever? We ended up not doing any of that. We took it. This is, I know we were going to talk about investing in yourself, but this was an investment in ourselves because I knew that, yes, you can get someone to sponsor or whatever, but that comes along with, one, they're going to want you to do certain things, or, they're going to, it just feel like it left a little bit more, less room for error. And I knew that we hadn't done this before, so I had no idea how it was going to turn out. But it was the best training for us to be able to do our own thing, make connections with vendors, hairstylists, makeup artists, the models. And, if it weren't for that, I think we would have had a very difficult time when we eventually did our first book, The Glory Book, and had to travel where someone was actually paying us to do it, right? Because now it was like, okay, now we're on somebody else's money, somebody else's clock, and, a little less room for mistakes and errors. So yeah, this particular picture, we actually, I don't know if any of you guys know Ronisha Franklin. She's a photographer in the DMV area, but we actually traveled to Cuba together. And we had, so for Cuba, we had no idea who we were going to photograph. Like, if anyone's ever been there, there's not a lot of access to internet or Wi-Fi or anything like that. And so we were literally in the markets, talking with people, networking. Someone ended up connecting us with those twins, and we were able to do that shoot. This was in London. And the funny story about that was that we blew out both of our lights. This was our very first time using strobes outside of the country. And again, we had no idea what we were doing. So,
I didn't know you needed for high-powered electronics.
So yeah, we didn't have the converter, and yeah, we actually blew out both of our lights. The only saving grace was the makeup artist had a ring light. So we actually used the makeup artist ring light for those photos, and you would never know.
You never know.
Right?
That is gorgeous. Yeah. These photos are so beautiful. And I mean, I already knew that. Like, I already seen y'all work, and I've been a fan for a long time. But like, these, I've never seen these, and these are so gorgeous. And it really is like, I think it was Regina, I just saw in the chat, she said the logistics of it all. This is amazing. And it's like, like when you're on this journey of like being full-time creative, you're more than just a photographer or a designer. You're so many parts of the process until you can really like then begin to delegate out there.
Right.
But these images are so stunning. Like, I want to know some tips or some tricks on how you edit, like, because you have a style of your own.
Yeah, so we honestly, I try to keep it a little bit simple in terms of editing. We are not doing like the super detail. If you want to go to, to the kids portfolio, we are usually not doing like really heavy editing because they're kids. Scroll down a bit. So I do use, I'm usually starting in Lightroom. I do a couple of adjustments there, I do a lot of editing in Photoshop. And so I usually take it to Photoshop to do like, cleanup and things like that. And then I have, plugins that I use that kind of keep it consistent. So what is it? Oh gosh, it's from Red Lab. Pixel Sugar, I believe it is. Yeah. So that's what I use to kind of keep things consistent in terms of keeping the coloring and things like that consistent throughout our photos for one particular shoot.
Y'all are geniuses, for real.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, so a lot of these are, around 2017 is when, you could see from our the work that we did before, a lot of our previous work was like on location, it was groups, and I, as a creatives, we get bored super easily, right? And, we were like, oh, let's try to, maybe learn some studio stuff. But I just felt like I was really worried that if we did studio work that we would be bored, right? Because I was just thinking about it like, okay, you're in the studio, white backdrop or colored backdrop, whatever. Just, I don't know. I just thought I would be bored. And so, we started this Afro art series really to showcase the beauty and versatility of Afro hair. And so we were just, kind of putting our own style creatively to the subjects that we were photographing, and we were playing around with accessories and hair. We would travel to different locations, and every time we would travel, we would have parents sign up for these sessions, and when they signed up, we would basically have a different theme. So whether it was steampunk or we might do something with just jewels, we would dress all the kids according to the theme. And so we did that for about a year. And a blogger asked if she could post the series. To be honest, it wasn't fully a series. It was just something that we were just doing, right? And so we were like, sure. So we sent her, some of the photos from the series. That, I mean, literally in a span of probably about 2 or 3 days, it took off. Like, just from her one blog post, other folks started to repost it, Yahoo, and it eventually went to CNN, BBC News came out. Like, it was insane. And that's, how we ended up catching the eye of the editor at St. Martin's Press for our first coffee table book, Glory. So again, this all started from personal projects. These were not, anything that a client commissioned us for. This was just us playing around. I would say really every kind of major thing that we've gotten has been from our personal projects, right?
That's real true.
So that's why I'm so big on personal projects, because I feel like that's kind of where the magic is.
Man, y'all talent is incredible. And I think it's such a big thing to like speak on, how you have to do the thing for yourself. You have to believe in your own idea, and then other people, other brands, companies are like, oh, I like your ideas. Come do that.
Exactly. I mean, I'd say people, I'm really like not lying when I say that. So like even people ask, well, how'd you guys get the deal with Disney? We literally did a princess series, right? And it, you know, caught their attention, right? And then they came to us and asked if we would want to do a doll line with them. Same for the book, right?
Iconic, which we're going to get into that.
Right? Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later.
We're getting into that.
Yes.
I want to know more, like, since y'all are a team, y'all are a group, and y'all both are like so magnificent at the same things, how do your creative flows like differ or like look similar to each other?
Yeah, so let me tell you one is how we kind of work together as a team. When we're in studio, only one of us is usually shooting. So I'm usually doing the shooting, and then Reg is handling the lighting. He's much better at that than me, and so he's usually doing like the lighting. And you know, we kind of split responsibilities for the other parts of the business throughout the week. So you know, he hates any of the client-facing stuff, the business stuff, the marketing, PR. He's like, yeah, you can handle all that, right? And I don't want any of the technical or, you know, any of the other stuff.
I'll make you lose clients.
Yeah.
So that's why you got to play to your strengths. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. And so it actually works out well for us because during the week, we're not all up in each other's space. You know what I mean? Like we have our own individual things that we're working on. And that's usually how we work together. In terms of, you know, creative, Reg, you know, a lot of, so click on the next one with the little boy.
Yeah. Oh, wait, it's good.
Oh, hang on. So Reg will usually modify a lot of the outfits that we have. So a lot of this was just, so Reg created this whole look. Yeah, so it's like literally.
I beat it up, everything on the belt, and then I just glued it to that fur piece of fur, and then I use that as a belt. The red thing is just a belt going across.
So it's literally just him coming up with, you know.
I just take what we already have and just recycle it.
Right. We're like in Hobby Lobby all day long.
Hobby Lobby costs
right.
$300 every shoe.
Yeah. So
that's why
we recycle, you know, a lot of what we have, a lot of the pieces that we have. And so it's literally just putting things together. I'm usually like, I'm good at coming up with like the crazy ideas, and he is as well. But a lot of times I'm coming up with whatever, you know, the plan is for the shoot and what the look is going to be overall. And then I'm like, okay, Reg, you know, make it happen. Or, you know, we can't sew. So if we work with, if we're need like more detailed piece, then I'm working with designers to create those. So.
Y'all are incredible. Like I did not even realize y'all also participated in the styling too. Like what don't y'all do?
Yeah. And so in terms of our team, so we literally, it's just us and we have a hairstylist and a makeup artist. And the way that we work with them is you know, we've been working together long enough to, and even, you know, now we're kind of moving into, we work with different stylists, but I only give them kind of the overall vision of what we're looking for, right? Like I don't tell them usually, unless it's a new stylist, I don't tell them, all right, this is exactly what we want in terms of the hairstyle, because I feel like it's going to be limiting them, and they give me stuff that I would never even think of, right? And so, you know, I tell people our shoots are kind of like a creative factory. Like they start hair, they go to makeup, and then they come to us and we add on the styling. I don't ever, you know, style down to the accessories and every little detail of what they're going to do beforehand. Like a lot of that stuff just happens on set. It's almost like, it's like a magical thing, you know, that happens on set because we're literally all just kind of coming up with ideas and we're playing together. And we're just, you know, just making the magic happen based off of what we feel.
You know, that reminds me of this idea that I feel like a lot of people might have a misconception about like what it takes to really run a business. And like we already touched on it a little bit where you like, yeah, actually we played this role, that role, this role. Can you speak a little bit more about that and like how that's even
the business? Yeah. Yeah, I think well, one thing in particular for photographers is that I feel like we tend to focus too much on the technical part and the, you know, the shooting part, right? Like, and they neglect all the other stuff like the marketing and, you know, the client relationships and, you know, everything that comes along with that. You know, I feel like that's just as much play as it is, you know, the shooting part really for me is 20% maybe, but everything else is what keeps, us in business. This is our, 13th year in business. But yes, thank you. It wouldn't have been that if we were not, I'm lucky to have had, some experience in marketing, and, my experience from corporate America, I'm kind of bringing the business part. But I feel like that those things are, helpful for us in terms of managing the day-to-day business. And I feel like a lot of photographers tend to neglect that. So I honestly we tell people, even though, yes, Reg went to school for photography, but what both of us say, like, don't go and get a photography degree. Like, I would much rather you get a business or a marketing degree and learn the photography stuff, on your own, because I feel like that's the part that, is really going to keep people in business. Yeah, like we always say,
out of a class of 32 graduates, there's only one successful photographer,
or one that's still doing it, right? A lot of
everybody
them,
else is hobbyists or just don't even do it at all.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And I mean, even myself going through that in the beginning stages, where like I started off in school going to school for photography, and then I realized after a year, I was like, I don't need a degree in this. And honestly, most of the experience,
yeah, definitely don't. Yeah,
like friends or other mentors or whatever I had anyway. So I was like,
exactly.
The only thing I will say that was like the most valuable about photography classes in school was the film photography classes.
Yes, I wasn't saying learning all that. Yes. So
yeah.
If you don't learn your settings, from home, it'll keep your settings in your brain,
right?
You know by heart.
Yes.
But I say, like, stuff like the lighting, man, we took a lighting class in an hour, and I learned lighting in an hour, which took the school a whole semester.
Right.
But yeah, that's the film.
Yeah. Which, speaking of which, like, I want to talk about both, like maybe your hardest lessons and the best things you've experienced. So thinking about like your whole process in becoming full-time creatives and doing this for a living for the both of you, maybe like one from each, Reg and Kahran. Like,
okay, I would say one of the hardest lessons that we've kind of been going through is, you kind of get used to, especially in terms of building a team, you get used to, you might find, one person that's really good, right? And you're like, okay, we're going to do a lot with this person or whatever. But I feel like for me, like, I don't ever want anyone else to have that amount of hold over our business. You know what I mean? In terms of if they decide to leave or, anything could happen. And then now it's like, oh my gosh, I got to scramble. So, for us, I think where we are is really trying to make it so that, yes, we can work with any stylist or we can work with any designers or whatever. And no one has that amount of hold in our business. And that was a hard lesson for us to learn, because you do get comfortable and you get easy. And yes, we still have kind of like our core team and our main team, but I don't want it to ever be, a place where someone else has that much hold in our business, if that makes sense. And so that was kind of a difficult lesson for us to learn, because you do get comfortable and it gets easy. But then, if something happens, then it's like, oh crap, now what? Because we've gotten so used to that person doing this or whatever. So for me, that was kind of the biggest lesson.
Yeah. How about you, Reg?
For me, and I'm sorry, this I would say just being complacent in like the kind of the style that you shoot, because, and what I mean by that is like, like when we first went viral and everything, and I was very used to using one set of lights, and I kind of based our whole business off of that. So like when we got all of these opportunities, like commercial shoots and stuff, I really didn't. I had to learn all over again
quickly,
different kind of lighting styles and what kind of lights to use for this kind of commercial shoot and stuff. So like I really did get complacent, and that's something that I don't want anybody else to do, because when those opportunities come, you need to be able to know your stuff. And like right now, I'm still a student. I don't think I'm always going to be a student of photography, meaning that I will always learn, even if it's somebody who who gives a lot of information that I already know. You just take what you can take that's good from everybody, and apply it to
like
yourself.
It's always a continuous process, right? Like there's always more to learn.
But just always be a student of photography and always expand beyond what you already know.
Right.
I love that you said that, because I say that all the time too. Like, I'm always a student. And I think it also keeps us a little grounded too, where it's like, I know my stuff, but like at the same time,
there's still more to learn.
So you guys see all the success and think that I'm probably a master of lighting, but I am not. I get nervous during shoots.
It's still always stuff that we can learn. So
it's always
that part. And then alternatively, I would love to know what y'all still are so proud of. Like, which one of these pieces, matter of fact, I'll pull it back up. Like, which
don't even ask that, because I'm gonna tell you there's no way. Okay. That's like, I tell people that's like trying to choose one of your kids, right?
Oh, that's so real.
I will say, there are certain shoots that and I don't think they're in here, but there are certain shoots that just will always have a special place in our heart. And it's the roller skate girl shoot, just because that was one where we had nothing, right? And I think it's a testament to us just being passionate about something. I think like in the beginning, like a lot of the ideas Kahran had was basically to bring a lot of our like Black life into photography. Right. And we were kind of
people didn't know about
back to our childhood and things like that.
And like her school, like just HBCUs and stuff like that.
This is an example of that was a stretch project for us, okay? Because we do not photograph babies, okay?
Tell us how to do
however, so Avino came to us and was like, would you guys do this? We actually had to photograph 30 babies in 2 days. 30, right? 30. And this is a project that I probably wouldn't have taken on. However, I knew that we'd done something kind of similar a long time ago. And I learned that I was like, only if we can have, I think we had maybe 3 child wranglers on set. So basically I let the child wranglers do what they do and, get the babies together. So all we had to do was kind of shoot and execute and, plan. A lot of the main stuff was the coordination of the shoot, but I have no idea how we pulled that off. But it was so much that we learned about working with like babies in commercial sets. Like they can only, if they're under a certain age, they can only maybe shoot for 15 or 30 minutes at a time. Or total. Yeah. So they can only be under the lights for a certain amount of time. So you have to know what you're doing. That's why I was like, listen, we got to have a few child wranglers. One is getting some of the babies ready and the other ones are here on set with me. That was the only way that that we were able to get that in. Like I wouldn't be able to do that by myself.
That's so real. And even Elsie in the chat just said, kudos to you, because I got 2 and I get tired.
Right, exactly. Right. Look, all we got is a dog and I'm tired. Okay.
30 years.
Yes, I get it.
But y'all did well because it looks so beautiful. Oh,
thank you. If you scroll back up, the other one, so this was actually, DirecTV, this was actually a connection from an old coworker. She went to work for DirecTV and she's like, oh my gosh, I would love to connect you with our marketing team and our social media team. They were doing, I don't know if you guys saw the ads with Serena Williams as Wonder Woman, but they were doing this promo campaign with Serena Williams. And so they wanted to do like a social media campaign with kids dressed as their character Wonder Serena. And so we got to do, I love this. This is like the type of commercial shoot that I love because we still pretty much get to do our style. They basically were like, we want you guys to do what you do, but do it for us. And so we got to still do it in our style. But just do it for their campaign.
All of your images are just so strong.
Thank you.
To hop back really quickly, which like these creative ideas that you have, like it seems like these brands come back to you and be like, oh, I like what you do, so just come do it for me. Do you ever have time to like really fight to have your creative ideas like stay yours?
I think not really. I think the biggest thing is, especially when you're working with corporations, is making sure you are reading through the contracts, right? And making sure, because a lot of them will want to do buyouts and they want to do work for hire. If you guys ever see that word work for hire, that means you are basically passing over all, whatever you're doing it for them. So your work for hire means, yes, you've shot that photo, but you no longer own it, right? And so things like that, you really have to take the time. And I would suggest, especially if you're working with a really big company, getting an attorney to kind of look through some of that stuff, because man, I mean, they can easily take your things and take your intellectual property. And so some of it, especially when you're working with the super large companies, you kind of have to bend on, but you have to make sure you're compensated enough to where you feel comfortable. Okay, if they're gonna own the copyright to these 4 photos, then let's make sure that we're being compensated enough for that. And then, with, making sure that, yes, it's just these photos. They're not owning everything else, right? So, yeah.
True. Reg, anything you want to add to that?
Man,
yeah, we'll keep it simple. Yeah.
Yeah, she come from corporate, so she has a better understanding of of what she just said.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, I want to get into it because we brought up the dolls earlier.
Yes.
And before we get to that book, y'all, if you don't have the first
our first baby, yes, this is our first baby. Oh my goodness! So
look, they're vets. They're on their 2nd book. Okay.
Actually, this is the 3rd. So this is our first
book. Oh my goodness!
Children's book as well. But yeah, so this is our first baby, Glory. And it was kind of spawned from the Afro Art series. But one of the things that, what I told you guys when we first started out, it was focused more on the beauty and versatility of Afro hair. But as we were photographing these kids, we were like, wow, we're meeting so many amazing kids with amazing stories. And we really got the chance to put that into our first book, Glory. So that book is, yes, it's our photography and our style, but it also has stories about each one of the kids. So, there's a little girl who was an 8-year-old neuroscience expert here in Atlanta, right? And she understood college level neuroscience at the age of 8. This little girl, Rebecca in Ghana, yeah, she's our heart, okay? Yeah. But she literally, this is a little girl with not a lot, right? She lives in a poor town in Jamestown in Ghana. And we wanted her to have a voice and have the opportunity as well. So it really is the spectrum. We have kids that just have interesting stories, and I love that we were able to put a wide variety of them, and it's really kids from all over the world. So I love that a kid in Kenya can see a little boy from New York, or a kid here can see someone from Ghana or wherever. And so yes.
And then we got Davita Crawford in the chat, says, I have all 3 books.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Davita.
For real. Okay, so that's Glory. Now let's get into Crown. Look.
Crown. Oh my goodness. I can't believe we are literally, this is like crunch time for us, because published date for Crown is Tuesday, May 23rd. Yes.
So make sure y'all get your pre-orders like Davita, okay?
Oh my goodness. Yes, we are super excited. So this is it's called Magical Folk and Fairy Tales from the Diaspora. So the first chapter kind of goes through our take on existing fairy tales like Little Mermaid and Snow White and Cinderella. But then the second chapter is about African folklore stories. So this is our Cinderella. Our Cinderella has a lowrider bike and a Timberland boot, okay? Yes. And then the second chapter is about African folklore stories. And this one is one. This is an African folklore based off of Anansi the spider, because I felt like, when do we ever learn African folklore stories, right? And so I wanted our kids to get a chance to learn some of the African folklore. And this actual shoot was, it was unique in and of itself, in that we actually did the shoot right in this room here in Atlanta. And the little boy and the body artist are in Ghana, actually. And so I had this idea of, I don't know if you guys use the Canon EOS software as for my Canon folks, but we had an assistant in Ghana that set up, we basically were on Zoom told him how we wanted the light set up, what the settings should be, what the camera settings should be. He set it up on a tripod for us. We had the body artist come and do the painting, and we actually were able to remotely fire the camera from here using the software. So I'm just like, yeah, yes, remote. I know. So she said remote. So it's amazing to see, just kind of innovating and thinking about things differently to figure out, how we can do things a little bit different. Because I knew that we didn't have a lot of time. We didn't have as much time to shoot for this book. So I knew that we were not able to travel, internationally like we were before. But this was somebody that I really wanted to work with. And so we made it happen.
Yes. This is the way that y'all are students to the craft.
And someone asked what the software was. It's your Canon EOS software. It comes with your camera. So everyone you're able to download it for free.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third chapter is actually new fairy tales. So we, I didn't want just the whole book to be just a rehash of old fairy tales. I wanted us to be able to create some of our own. So this was an example of one. This is called The Princess with No Hair. And, I wanted, we always think about princesses and they have this long flowing hair and, all this, but, I wanted the little girl with alopecia with no hair to be able to say, that she can be a princess too. Right. So, I'm super excited about the book and everything that's going to be coming along with that.
Y'all really thought of everything, and it's so gorgeous. And I can't wait to have that one too and add it to my collection.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Now look at these Disney princesses. This is gorgeous. Yeah,
actually, we have them here with us, so I can do a little bit of show and tell.
Yes, let's see.
A little baby, yeah.
Oh, that is so cute. How did this come about? Like, how do you even you have a doll? How do you
insane? Like we literally, our faces on. Can you see this? Our faces on the back of a Disney princess box, like insane, right?
Iconic.
So so it actually it started with Hasbro, but from Hasbro to Disney, they came to us and asked, they had seen the princess series that we had done before and asked if we would be interested in working with them on a doll line. And I'm surprised at how much input we were actually able to have. So we actually did the shoots first, and then they worked on the dolls based off of the photos. And so we literally, we had sketches, we had, fabric samples. They literally let us, they would come, we had this was a 2-year process. So, they would come to us, we would have Zoom meetings and they would be like, all right, we got 5 doll heads, and we were literally going through hair textures and skin tones and fabrics, and so we were able to talk through every detail to make sure that it was, what we wanted.
And every detail.
Yeah.
I mean, they even went as far as trying to get permission from the tribes to be able to use the prints.
Yeah. So they went through every detail in terms of, trying to make sure. So so that was the Disney Princess collection. So it's available on the Shop Disney site and also at Disney World, Disneyland, and some Disney stores around the world.
This is insane. Like the fact that they came from your images, that just makes legends.
Thank you. So we really are, I say we started off as photographers, but we are really trying to expand to be more of an empowerment brand for kids of color. And so whether that's through our books or through merchandise or other things, we're kind of using our photography as the starting point or launching point into other things.
And y'all are literally doing it. And I'm seeing the impact in the chat right now too. Regina said, listen, the Black Disney Moms group I'm in cannot stop talking and buying these dolls.
Oh, thank you. I said, so that was the one thing I was like, I knew a little bit about Disney before, but I did not know oh my gosh, I was like, they got all these Disney Moms group, Black Disney Moms, this mom group, I had no idea. That all these even existed.
So they came through for us.
Yes. Yeah. I appreciate it.
I definitely got to get some for my nieces. That's gonna be
yes.
Cool. Thank you. So before we jump it into the chat, make sure y'all drop some questions. I see a few there. Drop some questions for Regis and Kahran. I want to wrap this by asking, like, what is bringing you all joy today? I mean, clearly next Tuesday must be bringing you lots of joy. But what else is bringing you guys joy right now?
I said we're gonna give it a little show and tell. Hold on.
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
Laugh. Yeah. Oh my goodness. But seriously, so Reg wanted he wanted a dog for 10 years. Okay. I was like, we travel too much. We got too much going on. But seriously, I said, I know it sounds simple, but just finding time, to be with us, be together as a family with our pup Pixel. We try to take vacations when we can. To us, that's what joy is for us. Just really hanging out, together and being able to take time away when we need it. I said I feel bad because we travel so much. So I'm like, poor Pixel is going to be with my mom for like a month in June as we travel for this book tour. But when we're able to be here together as a family, like that's everything for us. So yeah.
I am so happy that you said this baby's name is Pixel.
Yes, of course, right? She's a photographer's dog, so she had to have a photographer's dog name, right?
That just melted my heart.
And so
let's jump
into a little spot when we're here on Zoom. Like we literally made her a little bed where she looks out the window, so she's sitting there looking out the window while we're on Zoom. Like that's her thing,
That's so cute. Like you got the screenshot anyway. Y'all look like the happiest little family.
Yes.
I'm gonna open up the chat. We have Marie Thomas here. Says, has the culture of Atlanta helped the growth of your brand?
That's a good question. I think not about the culture as much as being here in Atlanta. Like I'm inspired by, we have a lot of artist friends that are here. And so that part has helped because we actually, like I said, since we started out in the design background, we had a lot of like artist connections and artist friends that we had met here before that we still are connected with to this day. I say the biggest thing for me about being here is seeing other, successful Black businesses, right? And Black business owners all around us. Like, I went to Clark Atlanta here in Atlanta. And then I moved out to Oregon for 3 years to work in the tech space, right? So I literally went from a HBCU out to Oregon. And so I know the difference. It was definitely a culture shock, right? But, for me being back here in Atlanta, it's like, man, it feels good to just be able to walk down the street and see a successful Black business, right? Like for me there, it was harder to find. And it was like, I had to try to, find them. So from, that part is good. The other part is, I think with being here and I would say probably 70% of our clients travel to us. Folks come here and they're like, oh, I can make a weekend in Atlanta, so I can do my photo shoot. We get a lot of folks that come in for their kids' birthdays or celebrations. And so, they make it a weekend, and just really make it a celebration because it really is a it's a play date for the kid. They get to get the hair and makeup, they get, wardrobe and get all dressed up. And then, they find other things to do while they're here. So I think that's the biggest thing.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Phyllis K says, what future projects would you love to work on and create?
Oh gosh, I would love to really we want to see our work kind of translated into the TV film space. So I think that's probably the biggest thing that we would love as like our next big thing to see what that could look like. So yeah, something in the TV film space.
I can already see it. Y'all gonna be
yes. Yes.
I just want to keep it positive though.
Right. Yes. We've had several people approach us about doing like reality, documenting. Like, no. Like at the end of the day, we still have to be
by letting us make it about the kids, but then they start to slowly make it like it's going to be about us. And
I'm like, at the end of the day, we still have to be a family. We still have to be husband and wife, so
right.
That comes before everything else. And I don't want anything getting kind of misconstrued through that lens. So, yeah.
And I mean, that's such a big part of like being full-time creatives anyways, like learning to say no to the wrong projects.
Exactly. Right. Yes. Yes.
Really picking a thing that feels aligned with what you're trying to do.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Not all money is good money, right? Yes.
Speaking of which, Kai says, how do you negotiate with a company that wants you to do work for hire, but you want to keep your own ownership? Which is such a good question.
That part is really hard. And it really depends on, number one, the budget that they're working with. So like, honestly, if it's like, Joe's Crab Shack down the street and they only have like a small budget, but they want you to do work for hire, it may not be worth it. You know what I mean? Or I also look at it in terms of, okay, do I really think that I'm ever going to be able to use these photos again, right? Because really that's what we're fighting for as photographers. Like we're trying to, okay, down the line somewhere, am I going to be able to possibly use these photos or sell them for something else? So that's something that I consider as well when I'm considering whether I'm going to do this as a work for hire, because, some stuff, it might be that I probably won't ever use it again, and so yeah, you really have to kind of think all of that through. But I would say the most part is making sure that you're compensated enough to feel comfortable with. But the other thing is making sure that they're only doing work for hire for, a certain amount of photos, right? Like it may not be the entire shoot. Like you have to kind of do it based off the amount of photos. Don't just say, all right, this whole thing is work for hire, unless, you're just getting a complete buyout. And that's obviously a different price, a buyout price, at least double of what your regular, budget would be.
There you go. And that's really important to remember, like some of these terms, like the buyout prices, work for hire, like make you guys can study up on these terms.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Regina Montgomery says, you guys have accomplished so much. Do you have a big, scary goal you want to achieve?
I think the TV film thing is one. Reg really I think whether it's a fashion line or shoe line, Reg really wants to do something with shoes because he customizes a lot of our shoes. So something like that where we're doing like a fashion space. I am getting ready. I don't know why. Well, I do know why I decided, but for our launch, instead of our book launch, instead of doing a regular launch party, I decided to do our very first fashion show here in Atlanta on June 3rd. Oh my gosh. I tell you, it's been a lot. Okay. Because I've been putting together everything, putting together the models, the looks. I think it's going to be amazing. But yeah, it's just, kind of stepping out. So that's kind of our first, I guess, look into what the Creative Soul fashion, line could look like. It is going to be live streamed. So if any of you guys want to check it out, it's going to be live streamed, creativesoulphoto.com/fashion show.
Yes, we'll be sure to share that link in the chat, and also when we post about this.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds amazing. And I already see, you was already talking about styling on set. I could see a shoe collab. I could definitely.
Right. Yes, we would love something like that.
I'm gonna have my Nike shoe.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna have
We're manifesting.
Yes, he's yes, because he's already a sneakerhead as it is. So yeah. Yes.
And actually, I wanted to jump back a little bit because you mentioned before how you like to focus on empowering children. Excuse me. With your brand. So what would you say to Lil Kahran or Lil Reg right now?
About really, I would say don't be afraid to kind of step out into your own lane, right? Sorry. When we first started out, we felt like we had to, take this for a minute.
Basically, we had to step out on our own faith, and it's I guess what comes with anybody that's trying to start a business, you have that fear of making that jump,
Yeah. Right. Sorry, guys. I'm just getting over a cold. I'm actually just getting my voice back. So,
okay, take your time.
Yeah, but no, I felt like we had to try to fit in with other folks. So, yeah.
So that's important, I think, especially if there's any photographers just starting out or younger photographers here. It's I think they're a true testament on betting on themselves and
exactly. Yes.
3 books, Disney dolls,
yes. And I would say for photographers, don't wait for opportunities to come to you in terms of don't wait if there's a project that you want to do, just go do it, right? I'll give you an example. So we have our Eris calendar, and we had actually just started doing calendars, because a lot of folks are like, oh, are these photos going to be in a calendar or whatever? So I just went out and started doing like our own calendars. My mom was doing the shit. She still does. She was doing the shipping. So mom was, she calls us Karen Prime, right? So she was doing the shipping. We were doing it all on our own. And then eventually, after the book deals and things like that, a publisher came and was like, oh, do you guys, would you consider having it be a published calendar? And so now they're paying us to do our calendar, right? So again, that started with us betting on ourselves, doing it for ourselves before we went out and, because people think, oh, I got to go and find a publisher, or, even when I say the book stuff, right? Like we did when we did the world tour, we did our own very first self-published book. A lot of people don't know about that, but from the world tour, we came back and did a little self-published book. We probably didn't sell it to 10 people, right? but it was like our own little thing that we did for ourselves. And, we kind of learned the process. So, I think people think they have to start so big, start where you are before. And then, that gives you the experience that you need when folks do start calling and knocking, right?
Yeah. Have Davita Crawford that says, as a Canon girl myself, what do you shoot with and which lenses? Also, what are some essential lighting gear you can suggest having in the kit?
Good question. So right now we have the kind of R3 and we also have the R5. But we our go-to lens is the 2870, and that stays on our camera probably 90% of the time. The reason why, like, we are really simple when it comes to like, our shooting style, because when you're working with kids, number one, especially what we do, they've already been sitting in here in makeup for an hour and a half or so, right? So by the time they get to us, we got to go, and so I like to, that lens, because we can zoom in, we can, get some closer crop, we can zoom out, we can get full body. We don't have to worry about changing lenses a lot. We use the 85 millimeter and other ones as well, but the 2870, the 100 millimeter, but the 2870 is probably what stays on our camera most of the time. And then in terms of lighting, we love the Profoto D2s for in studio.
But when we travel, we use the B10 Plus.
Yes. B10. So we that was the B10 Plus, and the B10s were like kind of our first introduction, I guess our first intro lights for Profoto, and I love those because they can go in our backpack. And when we travel, sometimes the studios that we book may have lighting, but other times they may not, and so we can already bring our own lights with us.
There you go. That's a solid kit too.
Yes.
Beautiful. I just wanted to also mention that you guys have so much love in this chat right now, like especially people are saying they like getting it for their nieces, for their kids.
Thank you.
You got a bunch of loves, and I just love that there's like so much support for you guys in the chat right now.
Oh, thank you.
We got love for y'all too.
Yeah, thank you guys.
I put lotion on and stuff. Make sure
he did.
I don't do that for nobody else. I stay there.
He did. Yes,
I want to tie back into what you were just talking about like betting on yourself. Mm-hmm. And I feel like you've given us so many examples of like what that really means about starting with what you have. Do you have any other examples for the audience about like other ways that you're betting yourself and like really take it?
For sure. I was going to say, even like our very first editorial style shoot for a kid. We didn't have we didn't have a team or anything like that. I literally we bought a dress, I think probably off Amazon or something like that. Had my mom sew this like tulle belt, so she added like layers of tulle and put it on a belt for us that we created. And it looked like a full dress, right? And so again, it's really just kind of starting and, piecemealing what you have to make it into something, that's bigger.
Because like, even though we were in the child fashion industry, it was very hard for us to get designers to loan us their clothes because we
were new, right? Yeah. So yeah, in the beginning,
we even went as far as taking sewing classes.
Listen, no, so I think it was at Joann's Fabrics. They have like sewing classes, right? So we were like, oh, let's take a sewing class. Like I came out, I could probably only make like a pillow, right? This guy comes out and makes like a whole dress afterwards, right? So, but yeah,
I rigged the dress.
Yeah, you rigged the dress. Yeah.
I think that's such a good testament also to what you mentioned earlier too, of like we really have to play so many parts. So it's best to just get the education that you can. Like, I think it's really amazing that y'all were just like, we should probably do this. We have to deal with this a lot.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
I mean, because
exactly.
as Black people, we are very, very resourceful. You know what I mean?
Innovative, yeah.
So we'll find a way to make one. So
yes, my dad was that all day long. Like he piecemealed things together. He was he was very eclectic, okay, I would say. And so he was good about like, always piecemealing things together. And even if he didn't have the budget for it, was finding creative ways to make it happen.
And then we also have Regina in the chat that says, will there be a Little Mermaid photography session and or doll? And so that makes
these are our Little Mermaid photos. They're in the Crown book. Don't know about doll, but yes, for sure the Little Mermaid photos. So I'll probably release those on the date of the Little Mermaid release.
I love it. So I wanted to pull this back up because it's like, yes, we're coming. And the doll, I feel like we are possible, especially with this new Little Mermaid drop. I feel like it's not too late. They can get on your line right now.
That's what I'm saying, right? Listen, we'll be ready. Yes.
Okay, cool. We got a couple more questions coming in. One says, how do you all incorporate rest in between your busy schedules?
Yeah, that's a big one. That is a big one. I'm telling you, I was like, what I think really the main thing that we're able to do is we make sure that we try to, have our vacation time every few months, right? So we just came back from Jamaica for my birthday. So we, when that's our vacation time, that's our vacation time. Between that, there's not a whole lot of rest. I'll be honest, like, and I tell people, I said, that's really the reason why we are so big on making sure that we absolutely love what we're doing. And when I say love, I'm not meaning like just in general, but even down to the point of like, okay, we're constantly reevaluating like what we're doing. Like we used to squeeze in teens, right? Now we cut off at 13 because, it's just it wasn't like a love for us. And so, I tell people if we're not happy at, in our job, which is, doing our photography together, it's coming home because we, that is our life. Right. And so we're constantly reevaluating what we're doing and making sure that it's something that we love, because if not, we're bringing it home.
Yeah.
Yeah. You always have to, man, you're going to have to find, like, if you ever get to like a busy point, you got to protect what's in here. So you got to have, even if you have to take 2 days off, go to like a in town vacation or something.
Right,
like
staycation. Yes, we do this
because you need to take yourself away from your work life.
Yes.
To be able to reset your mind. So even if it's just going to a hotel down the street.
I know. We even found what's the Floasis float therapy. I don't know if you guys have done that.
Please tell me a little bit about it.
Oh my goodness. So because I love like when we go on vacation, like I usually am in the pool just floating, right? But I was like, when I learned that there's like float therapy, I'm like, are you kidding me? This is a thing that actually exists. So I know people that are like claustrophobic that are like, I don't know if I can do that, but it's literally like a pod that it's like sensory deprivation. So like you lie in it, you're not supposed to feel anything. You basically just float for like an hour.
Yeah, like the water is like at room temperature. So
right,
it doesn't feel like you're feeling the water, it feels like you're floating.
Right. And then you basically he gives you like breathing exercises to kind of help you meditate and get into this deep thought. And at first I was a little skeptical. I was like, I don't know, and it has.
I was all the way skeptical. I was like,
yeah,
but like everything. So, but when I went,
it was actually really good, and it's like they put like so much salt in it so that you're able to float, but it actually is healing for your body as well. So your muscles.
Because I'm a diabetic and I have like a severe case of neuropathy, but that has been like the only thing that's been able to take my pain away. Almost immediately.
Yeah. So little things like that, like, yes, try to schedule that in.
Oh, that's amazing. I've been like researching that for a while too. I get nervous. I'm skeptical. I really love water and I want to float too, but it's the part that the lid closes.
So you can open it up a little bit to leave it open. Also, they do have some that are it's like a small pool, that's open, is that you don't close yourself in. But I just kind of like this one because I was like, I like the cleaning process of what they have in the in the pod. Like it's very clean. Yeah, so I was like, I don't know about the pool thing. But yeah, this one was really good. So
I love that. And we also got a couple people in the chat. Phyllis K said it feels like you're walking on a cloud.
It does. That's exactly what it feels like. Yes.
Perfect. I love that y'all have like these self-care pieces implemented in. And like you said, to be honest, like sometimes it is hard and difficult to fit in.
Right.
But can you talk more about like how you guys manage, especially as both a couple and a business partner?
Yeah.
Not to bring work home, even though y'all work together.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, I tell people, I just have to be honest, there's not a lot of work-life balance. Our work is our life. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of separation. So that's why we're constantly making sure that, we're cool doing what we do. But, in terms of us, we've never really had like, I guess, traditional roles. Yeah, I would say, like, just because, for so long, Reg was, doing the photography business, and I was off working full time. And so, he handles the stuff at home and I'm able to handle like the business stuff. Yeah. And that's, kind of how we've continued it to this day. And it works out for us because he doesn't want to handle any of the stuff that I'm working on. And I'm okay if he's, cooking or cleaning or doing other stuff. So, that's what works for us. And, it allows us to kind of have that separation where we're, doing our own things during the day, and then we can come back together when we need to.
You have to, man. Like, happiness is everything. So
yeah,
you angry at home, you bring that at work.
Yeah, right.
Angry at work, you bring it at home.
Yeah,
you gotta live with each other. So.
Right. Yes.
That's such an important part about. There's a couple photographer duos that I'm familiar with, and I'm like, I see the ways that maybe it could be difficult because of like managing stress or like job going wrong. But the balance load of being able to like just delegate responsibility or playing to your strengths is like.
And I'll tell you the biggest thing for us. So a lot of people don't know that CreativeSoul Photography actually started. We thought we were going to be designers together. We thought we were going to be graphic designers together. So it started as CreativeSoul Designs, and we thought we were going to do this like We thought we were going to do this like web and graphic design business together. And it was an epic fail. Okay, it was an epic fail because we were in we had to be in the same space, you know what I mean? Not the same space physically, but just doing both giving input on the same thing. It was just too much, right? Like, and I
was a creative
he was like
artist, and she was more corporate,
right? And so
delivering the message clearly, and so, I was not into that. I cared more about looks.
Right. I got my heart So we would be like, I would be trying to deliver something to the client, and he's like, oh well, I just want to use this font just because it's pretty. You know what I mean? And I'm like, So yeah, that was like, so for this with photography, I think one of the things that makes it a lot easier for us to work together is us having those separate spaces throughout the week. Like, I'm working on the business stuff. He's working on, making sure the equipment is ready and, getting the wardrobe stuff together. So we're not constantly, day after day, working on everything together. Like, I feel like that makes it a lot easier because, you do get, we've been together, gosh, how long? Too long. Since 2004, right? So however long that is. Yeah, so that's almost 20 years. Dang. But yeah.
Come on. Yes.
But when you're around each other for that long, like you gotta have some separate, space time, to be able to do your own thing, or else you're gonna get on each other's nerves, right?
That part. I mean, you gotta have your own time to be yourself.
Yes.
Come together to be a couple.
Right.
But I wouldn't take away not having her. I would always want to have her as a work partner.
Oh, yeah, I would too.
That's so beautiful. I got another question coming in that says, "What is the biggest challenge you face when it comes to executing on your personal ideas?"
The biggest challenge, I think, for me, like personal projects for me are always scary. And I think they're scary because I'm trying to live up to the ideas in my head, right? And I want it to go right. And a lot of times we're investing our own money in this, right? Nobody's paying us to do this. And so I'm like, man, I hope this turns out like I wanted it to turn out, And so I think for me, it's just, I put a lot of pressure on myself when it comes to our personal projects because of that, because I'm like, okay, we've spent all this and we've done all this, and I really want it to come out like it is, in my head. So I think, really just having a clear plan is probably the biggest thing that, kind of helps to make sure, things are successful.
That's true.
Yeah.
Because I'm more of like a spontaneous person as far as like ideas and stuff goes. So that hasn't really worked too well.
So yeah, I gotta try to keep them in mind.
Her being a planner kind of, I have to admit that her being a planner helps that out a lot. Yeah.
Wait, what did you say? Wait. Make sure somebody writes that down. Okay, yes.
Helps out a lot.
Yeah, somebody write that down. Okay. Yes.
Okay, we got one more question. This one's from Elsie that says, tell us one fun fact about yourselves that is not photography related.
Oh, good question.
Yeah.
I collect Transformers.
Yes, he does. Yes. Like too much, okay? Like I've literally given up on our office. Like his office is full of Transformers. For me, fun fact, gosh, I don't know if this is really fun, but I am still I'm like that weird left brain, right brain type of person. So I still love data and numbers and, technology, all that stuff. Like I can literally I know a lot of folks are worried with all the AI stuff, but I'm in it all day. Like I'm looking, I just love technology. So I'm figuring out ways to incorporate, and I'm on YouTube looking at stuff. I can look through technology stuff all day. So yeah, I think that's probably, it's boring, but
I mean, feel he can't come back and share with me, and I'm just like,
yeah, right. He has to turn it off. I'm always on,
but she's really into data and statistics, and I'm like,
yeah, right. He's like, okay, yeah.
No, but that's why it feels like this works so well. Y'all are truly and create such a perfect balance.
Yes.
We have maybe one last question. Okay. When you have an idea that you may want to pitch to a brand, how do you protect your ideas?
You have an idea that pitch to a brand. Well, one thing that you could do if you're, pitching, you could do some type of non-disclosure agreement. Usually they're doing it to you, but you could do it that way, so that, up front, if you're worried about that they're going to take your ideas. But to be honest, we haven't really pitched a lot. I know a lot of people think with the opportunities, but I think where we are in our space, I just feel for us, the way that we work is keep doing really good work, and try to make sure we stay active, and so that we're in the spaces, and eventually the right people will find us, and that's kind of what's worked for us so far. We've kind of considered, I think we tried working with an agency once where we're actually pitching, but I feel where we are now and what we're trying to do, I just really want the right opportunities to come to us, and not just necessarily ones that, we're just kind of knocking down on doors for. So sorry, I wish I could be more helpful on that. But yeah, I would say, if you are really worried, you could probably do some type of NDA.
No, I think that's a great answer, because I think it's two sides of a spectrum where both people are manifesting something, but then one person is kicking down the door and going to get it. Right. And then the other person is I'm going to create for my ideas and the people.
Yes. And I feel when you do that, the right opportunities kind of come into your lap, right? We put the Afro Art series out, and just so happens that we have the editor that we have right now. I love. She's a Black woman, and she understands what we do. She connected us with an agent, a literary agent, and she understands what we do. And so it's kind of the right thing, the right pieces kind of come together versus you trying to fit it into something, right? I know people that it's worked for, right? People that kind of go out and reach for opportunities. Just for us, and what we've done. It's just been easier for us to, kind of just continue down the path, do great work, and, make sure we're in the right spaces for people to be able to see.
And I also say, don't chase money.
Yeah.
Always accept what feels right. Yeah. Because we had to turn down the dog deal one time, but if it doesn't feel right, just don't roll with it.
Just make sure it's something that's for you.
Yeah. Follow that intuition.
Right.
And then the right things will fall into place. I mean, we've always it's always worked like that for us.
That's so beautiful. That feels like the perfect place to wrap up. And I'm so happy we got to talk to you today. But before we completely end, I wanted to just make another announcement about Glory and about Crown. And matter of fact, I'll pull this back up because Crowned, you said, is coming out May 23rd.
They can actually pre-order now, so please, yes. Yes.
And book, so please pre-order that. But I wanted to make an announcement because, like I always tell y'all, at Black Women Photographers events, we always have some goodies for you. For example, we have Adobe sponsoring today, and like I told you, they're giving away a free Adobe Creative Cloud suite that includes all of the apps, which is like a $636.
It's huge.
It's huge, like especially if you're the type of creatives that CreativeSoul is. Like, you probably need a lot more apps than the average photographer. Right. And then they're also giving away the photographer plan. So like most of us, we need we need Photoshop and Lightroom, and we could get that for free. And all you have to do is use the hashtag and tag us on Twitter or our IG stories. And there you go. The hashtag is BWP Summit. But as a special little thank you for having you here with us today, we wanted to give away both this Glory book and the Crown book to some winners. So to get that, let's use the hashtag BWP Summit, tag Black Women Photographers, and also tag CreativeSoul, Twitter and IG stories. We'll drop all the handles in the chat and, of course, online too, to make sure. So if you want to get a free copy, one of each, Glory and Crowned, please use the hashtag and all the handles. And I'm so excited that we get to do that because y'all have to see, like, I know I showed a little bit of the book. But y'all see the whole book. Like, it's truly gems in here, and just like y'all do creative and beautiful work. Y'all are so talented.
Thank you so much.
I really feel honored that I got to speak to y'all today. Like, y'all are
to be here. Thank you guys so much for having us.
And thank you for allowing me to be in y'all space.
Yeah, right. Right, we let them in. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we'll be right back, y'all, with our next speakers, and we'll see y'all later.
All right, bye guys. Thank you.